All right. Dr. Mims, welcome to the Square Pizza Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Here in Boston, we're getting some late sleet. I don't know. Someone forgot to tell Mother Nature that it's spring, but it's about 36 degrees outside and it's sleeting. And then not too far from here, towards New Hampshire and upper elevations, they're getting snow. So
Hmm.
that's New England.
And I know you're a little bit of a sports guy. How I haven't kept up with baseball. How are your Red Sox doing?
I haven't really been following the Red Sox. I've been following the Celtics, and they're
Okay.
cooking number one in the East,
Yeah,
looking good.
they are doing well. Yeah.
The Red
Well, great.
Sox
Thanks
are
again for joining.
rebuilding, and the Patriots are rebuilding, so they're
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
along.
Exciting new head coach though, young guy, and so
Yeah,
we'll hopefully be there for a while. Yeah, let me set some context. So for those that are watching, but also when people kind of listen to this, we have a little bit of a special episode. I am here, Greg, the usual host. We have Dr. Mims, who will intro fully in a moment, but we also have the wonderful Taylor James.
Hello, hello. Yay, I'm
Uh,
back.
Taylor's back, making a return appearance on the podcast, but we'll talk more about this later. But it's cool. Taylor was on the strategy project we all had the pleasure of supporting with Dr. Mims and the Calculus Project. But Taylor is also an esteemed alum of the Calculus Project, and she went through the program in Boston when she was growing up. So really cool. I mean, biasly, we think it's a cool story. But Taylor's going to join the podcast and share more about her journey as an eighth grader growing up in Boston, going through TCP, and then also her experience getting to maybe boss Dr. Mims around a little bit and help with some of the strategy stuff as well.
Yeah, we're excited.
Dr. Mims, cool. So before we start, we always want to start a little bit of positive notes. We know you've had some big wins already in 2024, and I think you've been traveling a little bit. So just curious what you want to share with the audience. Anything good happening in 2024 that's coming top of mind?
yeah. I'm excited about some of the partnerships that we've cultivated. One partnership is with MathWorks, and MathWorks is a STEM company that basically creates software, in particular MATLAB, that engineers use around the world, as well as colleges and universities for their engineering programs in the private sector, NASA, SpaceX, Boeing, all of these big companies use their MATLAB and Simulink software, which does math modeling. And so one of the things that we're doing with MathWorks is partnering with them to train math teachers how to introduce the software in their math classes in middle school and high school, so students can actually see how math is applied in the real world in the form of math modeling. So we're really excited about that. And the other thing, there's so many things. I'm going to narrow it down to the top two.
It's a good problem. Yeah.
The second thing is this summer we're partnering with Emmanuel College to offer a college credit course in statistics. And this is extremely important for us because our goal is to get students to AP Calculus or Calculus their senior year in high school so that they can have infinitely many possibilities post-secondary. But we all know that this world runs off of data, codifying data, disseminating data, analyzing data. And so statistics is very important. And so what students will have an opportunity to do, students who are going into their senior year of high school during the summer will have an opportunity to come to the campus of Emmanuel to take a course in statistics. We're going to make sure that we have support for these students. And what will happen is it's not dual enrollment, but they'll have an actual college credit from Emmanuel that they can include when they submit their applications to apply to college. And the whole point is not to have this course count in lieu of their senior math course, but we also want them to take calculus their senior year. So what ends up happening is that students go off to college with 5 math credits, and one being from a manual college. So it'll make them a lot more competitive. They'll be a lot smarter. And so the idea is that with some of our corporate partnerships that provide internships, it will even make our students a lot more competitive and attractive.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, that's really cool. I don't know what you can share, but did your new pricing strategy help with any of these partnerships?
Absolutely.
Would have been tough if you said no. Would have been tough.
A little awkward.
Hey, that's why we brought you guys in. You know, you're the top of the food chain when it comes to that type of work. But you know, we want to be able to operate, you know, at our optimum and be able to grow the work and increase the impact. And so, a huge part of that is making sure that we have a really good pricing strategy for, you know, our clients, but also for us as an organization.
That's great. Yeah, it look forward to kind of asking more about that towards the end of the interview today. But yeah, before we get too far, Dr. Mims, we'd love just to have the listening audience, you know, kind of who you are, what brings you to this work, and kind of a quick overview, if you don't mind, of the Calculus Project.
Yeah, you know, this work is personal to me, very personal. And I was just in New York presenting at a conference. And one of the things that I've been doing for the past year is really telling my own personal story. I'm first generation in my family to go to college. I went to University of South Carolina. I worked 2 jobs to pay my way through college. So I can totally identify with a lot of students out there who come from middle class to low income backgrounds. But, you know, when I was growing up in Spartanburg, South Carolina, I faced a lot of challenges. The high school that I attended was James F. Burns High School. And what a lot of people don't know about this high school is that it did not integrate until 1969. So for whatever reason, they either didn't get the memo or didn't read it about Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954 and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But it was a tough school to attend, on top of the fact that they did not integrate until much later. Their mascot was the Rebels. And before I got there, you know, they'd have the Confederate flag on the uniforms of the football players. And so it was a racially hostile and sometimes violent environment that I was growing up in. And, you know, just in terms of school, there were 3 tracks. There was one track where students just went straight through school and graduated with a diploma, and a lot of them went and worked in textile mills, or they went into the military. And the interesting thing is there are no textile mills left in that area. Another track is a vocational track where students would spend half of their day at the high school, and then the other half go into R.D. Anderson, where they learn trades such as carpentry, learn fleet mechanics. And then there was the college prep track, which was a track that I was on with 4 other Black students throughout my entire 9 years at the high school, which was preparing you for college. The irony of that is that I really wasn't prepared for college. When I went to University of South Carolina, I came to a very scary realization, and that was my sophomore year. I realized that I really didn't know how to study. And so here I am, I'm working 2 jobs, and I'm studying to become an electrical engineer. Long story short, I changed my major to mathematics my junior year, but when I did that, I ended up taking a lot of 500 level math courses that they say you should not take together. But I wanted to graduate within 5 years. And so here I am in the student lounge, struggling, trying to figure out all of these math problems. And I have these math books stacked, like 5 of them stacked high. And I admit this now, I didn't admit this years ago. I was a little tear came down my cheek because I could not see myself pushing this boulder uphill. But then comes a gentleman, Kofi Fadimba, who at the time was at University of South Carolina. He's from Togo. He was there with his family. He was pursuing a degree in mathematics, and he saw this young black man struggling, and he came over and he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Do you know how to do these math problems?"
I'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like one of the smartest people I've ever met. He could literally go and look at each one of those books and just skim it for a few minutes and then actually teach me the math in a much better way and more conceptual way than my math professors. And so I tell that story because people look at my accomplishments and look at what I do, and they automatically think, oh man, math was always easy and that you were a genius or something. But I actually had help to get to where I am right now. And I had a math tutor who helped me get my degree in mathematics. So I credit Kofi Fadimba, who is now a math professor at University of South Carolina, their Aiken campus, for setting me up for success to do this important work that I'm doing now. And so with the components of the Calculus Project, the work that we do, it is definitely integrated with my own personal experience as a mathematician.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. I think we knew some of that story from our partnership and not as personal as it was, but that makes a lot of sense given what we learned about you and maybe what Taylor already knows about you. But yeah, Dr. Mims, can you keep going and give the audience, maybe a high level viewpoint of kind of what TCP, the Calculus Project, does and the scope in which you guys are serving the amount of students you are?
Yeah, sure. Our mission is to use research supported components to dramatically increase the success of students of color and low income students in mathematics, because we know that if students are proficient and if they are skilled in advanced mathematics, that they have infinitely many post-secondary opportunities available. And so right now we're living in a country where we're exploring all of the capabilities of AI. The STEM sector is booming. And so technology is really taking over every aspect of our job, in all of our jobs. And so when you think about the integration of technology and how it requires a higher level of thinking and strong analytical skills, students get those skills by challenging themselves in advanced math classes, which means they're able to take higher level science classes because those are also integrated in. So to your question about what is the Calculus Project, The Calculus Project came from an extension of my dissertation at Boston College. And my dissertation title was Improving African American Achievement in Geometry Honors. And the whole idea was, how can we dramatically increase the number of students who identify as Black or African American in honor and advanced level courses to put them on a trajectory to take calculus. And so my findings from the dissertation actually became the Calculus Project. So the 5 components that undergird that are: 1, pre-teaching students the math during the summer to accelerate their learning, and also teaching them how to work collaboratively in groups to support one another. 2, we have a pride curriculum where students learn about the contributions of STEM professionals of color. So it helps them develop a stronger math identity, gives them the confidence that they need to persevere through these challenging math courses. Then during the school year, we make sure that we group these students in the same honor and advanced level math courses so that they can hone those skills of collaboration and support each other. And then we also provide them the academic center, which provides them additional math support and gives them additional opportunities to work together to study for quizzes, tests, make corrections on quizzes and tests, and really just build a strong math community. And then the last component is what we call the peer teacher component, where we work with our strongest students and we train them to teach math during the summer alongside math teachers in the school. And so what that does, it helps the peer teachers actually become stronger mathematicians because they're teaching the younger students math. And for the younger students, they have teachers who look like them, who are just a couple of years older. So they have big brothers, big sisters, they have role models. And then when they find out that they're getting compensated for being good at math, it gives them something to aspire to. Mm-hmm. So it's a very comprehensive program that we integrate in schools. And we start around in the middle schools, rising 7th and or 8th grade. And we build this program over the course of 6 years, all the way up to their senior year. And we work with the teachers and administrators within the school district. We provide them with professional development and coaching to make sure that the program is seamlessly implemented into their environment and becomes part of their school culture.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. And just to double down so people really understand, for our middle school principals out there, they can reach out to engage with you. So, their 7th grade babies can start and get access to TCP. Then also high school level opportunities for high school principals out there. You guys can kind of jump in and begin to serve students at different levels of the pathways between middle school and high school. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is, and I get this question all the time, like, why not start earlier? And to be honest with you, when you look at data and you look at studies, I mean, the gap is almost instantaneous, not just in math, but also reading and language acquisition with students when they start in kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade. And so one of the reasons why we started middle school is because it makes the program a little bit cheaper. When you start younger with students during the summer accelerating their learning, you usually incur additional costs with regards to extended day programs because the parents have to come by and pick them up, and then you got to feed them, of course. When we have older students, when we're done, some of them either jump on their bike and ride home, they take public transportation, or they walk home. It helps lower the cost of the program. So we like to start usually in middle school because of how the program is structured. We can actually start in any grade because it's built off of pre-teaching. And then over the course of several years, we continuously add a grade so that we can build capacity within the district and make sure that it's financially sustainable.
Yep. And then maybe last question before we transition, can you give people an understanding of like the size and the scope, Dr. Mims, in terms of how many schools and students you guys are impacting on an annual basis?
Yeah, right now we've impacted since 2009 approximately 15,000 students across Florida, Massachusetts, and Texas. I worked for 3 years commuting back and forth between Boston and Orlando, which is Orange County public schools, implementing the calculus project there. And it's the 9th largest school district in the country. And then here in Massachusetts, we're working with about 10 districts as part of our calculus project consortium. And then in Fort Worth, Texas, we're working with Young Women's Leadership Academy. We just launched our program there last summer. So we're looking to expand in that area. So all in all, we have roughly over 100 middle and high schools that are implementing the program right now. So we have a robust family of calculus project students.
That's so cool to hear and see. Yeah. And, maybe a good segue, maybe not. I know you're not allowed to maybe say your favorite students of all time that have come through TCP. But yeah, before we kind of put Taylor on the spot, would love to just know what it was like to have Miss Young Taylor James as an 8th grader in the TCP program.
You know what's interesting? I look at Taylor now and she still looks the same.
I know, I do.
Good genes.
You'll appreciate the fact that you look like an 8th grader.
I know.
But Taylor's unforgettable. I was so pleased to I'm happy that, I'm still able to stay in contact with her, as well as a lot of the other students who, I call them students, and they're grown people now. So to be able to see them highly successful and happy too. She's extremely happy with her life and her career and what she's doing. It means a lot to me to know that I had some little small part in that. But Taylor was always curious. She was always positive, always pleasant. And, one of the things that I really admired about her was that she owned her learning. And a lot of people wonder, like, what does that mean when you own your learning?
Yeah.
If she didn't understand something, she'd ask. She knew the power in self-advocacy and asking questions, and she was always prepared. And so she had all of the ingredients and all of the skills and all of the things that are vital for student success. And she had a prodigious work ethic as well. So it was a pleasure working with her.
Aww. Thanks, Mims.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll say you're my favorite, but don't tell anyone. I don't think I don't think any of the Calculus Projects alum are listening to this podcast right now.
I don't know. They might. They're gonna get a little jealous.
Yeah, I'd love to pass it to Taylor, whatever she's comfortable sharing, maybe like pre-TCP and post-TCP, but she grew up in Boston. And I think, share with me a little bit about how important school choice was and her mom navigating kind of the Boston public school system, for better or worse. So yeah, Taylor, would love for you to kind of share kind of your experience growing up in Boston.
Yeah. So I think, and I did share, I think on a blog post a while ago, I grew up in Boston, but I was part of the METCO program at a young age. So I was in the METCO program starting as a kindergartner, and I was placed in Brookline Public Schools, which was great because it was so close to Boston. And, a lot of students are not fortunate enough to go to a METCO school so close to the city. But yeah, I always struggled with math. So that was, and I think, we already talked about it earlier. It's hard because when you don't get it early, you continue on and you struggle. So my mom was really good about making sure I was in summer programs that were always academic. So kids would go to fun camps and be horseback riding and doing all these crazy things. And I would be usually in a Northeastern classroom in a math class trying to get help for the upcoming year. So I don't remember how I found out about the Calculus Project at first. It must have been from the first cohort, I'm sure. But I wasn't surprised. As soon as I was in the program, I was like, oh, well, here's another math class. But no, it ended up being a lot more than that. So, but yeah, that's just a little bit about how I got there.
I can refresh your memory and tell you how you ended up in the program.
I was like, I don't remember.
Your mother told you that you were doing the program.
Oh, yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah. So just for the viewers, some of them may not know about the METCO program that you just mentioned, but for those people who are listening, in Boston, there's a program called METCO. It's arguably, I'm pretty sure it is the oldest voluntary busing program in history in the United States. That started in the late 1960s with the whole idea that students from Boston would have an opportunity to go to schools in districts that are predominantly white, well-resourced, well-funded, with the idea that when students go to these schools, they'd have access to excellent teaching and they'd be able to take honor and advanced level courses. And Taylor, of course, attended the Brookline Public Schools of Brookline School District, which is interesting. It's considered an urban suburban school district because it's literally 5 minutes right outside of Boston. So
literally.
it was good because you could take public transportation there. But also for some students who are in the METCO program, round trip, it takes them 3 hours. 3 hours. So every single day from their doorstep to the school's doorstep back to their home, it's 3 hours. And some of these students are getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, just to have access to really these opportunities. But we recruit students by sending out letters to their parents telling them about the orientation meeting, and they come to the orientation meeting and I'm a great salesperson. I'm not even really selling it. It sells itself. I mean,
Yeah.
you
It
know,
was personal too, as you said. Yeah.
and the parents say, I'm signing my child up for this
Mhm.
because I see the importance of mathematics, because you can't have financial literacy until you have math literacy. And once you have financial literacy, then you are on a pathway to upward economic mobility.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we have to make sure that our young people are getting exposure to.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Taylor, I'd love to know. I think it's helpful context for the listening audience, because you said you've taken like maybe similar classes before and you were in camps and stuff for the summer, but I think this program was maybe more meaningful than others. No shade to the others, but curious from like 8th grade Taylor, what made kind of this experience in Dr. Mims' program so meaningful to you?
Yeah, I think it was the consortium motto, and then just us as a cohort. It was, I remember the first cohort, a lot of who I'm still super close with are like my best friends. Shout out to Rihanna Page. Shout out to Julia Santos. But yeah, I think that seeing my friends do the program a year before me, and then be successful, and knowing that once they got to high school, they had each other in math classes, and then had each other after school. So then when I was a part of the program, I don't think people understand also how large Brookline High School is. So I think at the time, I think it was like 2,500 students. It's still a lot of students now, probably more than that. But it's a very large high school. There were 8 elementary schools, K-8 elementary schools. So we all went to the same high school. So it's super intimidating when you get there, and then you're in these large classes, and you're like, I don't know how I'm gonna, navigate this classroom. Obviously you're also one of the only people of color in a lot of your classes as well. So the consortium motto was important because we were able to be in math classes together. So when you walk into your first math class, I'm like, I already know all the students in my class because we were together during the summertime. And then it was great because we were also ahead. So we had already taken the math class that we were currently learning at the time. So we already kind of knew the formulas already. Everything was like very familiar because we were able to have that kind of like upper hand because of the calc project. And then I think one of the other really, really important things to highlight is obviously Dr. Mims is great, but then he had this like team of teachers who he was not able to be in the classroom with us. So he made sure there were teachers who knew who the calc project kids were. And then they were able to assist us after school and like during school. I think that was one of the most important things to have in the program, because we literally would not have been able to do it without our teachers every single day. So shout out to KJ. I think like there were some teachers that literally like change your life because they look out for you all throughout high school, just from the start of the program. So, yeah.
Shout out to KJ.
Shout out to KJ. Didn't do it without KJ. None of us.
And we're probably all biased parties here in the right way, and Taylor, as Dr. Mims said, you look the same as what you did as an 8th grader, respectfully, of course. But for the current Taylor James, like the current 8th grade students of color in Boston, like why is a program like TCP so important to them?
I think it's really important because I think, like I said, just having a program that even highlights math in particular, and just knowing that as a Black student or student of color, you're able to you can be successful in math was a really big deal. I think growing up, especially as one of the only students of color, only Black girls for a lot of time in my elementary school, you get a little bit lost in the sauce. Like you're just kind of there, and you don't really, you can get forgotten about, and you don't have the support that you need. So the calculus project is important because you're able to be with a cohort of students who are just like you, and who are successful. I think all my friends who did the calculus project are very successful even today. And everyone was so good at math, and being able to take pre-calc in high school or calculus in high school was crazy. And they were like the smartest kids in the classroom. So it was just amazing that, there were these advanced classes that have these Black and brown students in them. And yeah, we were very successful. So, yeah.
That's great. That's so cool. And still are successful. Yeah.
Still are successful.
Right. And then it's a good business model for Dr. Mims because the more students that are successful and get high paying jobs, the more they can contribute and donate back to the organization. Right. And so it's a long-term giving.
Tell them you'll look out for a donation link.
Yes. And okay, like fast forwarding to November of 2023. So man, seems like it was yesterday, but it was 4 or 5 months ago already. The Shermco team got a chance to work with the calculus project as you guys were growing to help you kind of solidify your pricing strategy and earned revenue strategy. I think sometimes a misnomer from the general public is that they think nonprofits aren't allowed to charge. And we tell them nonprofits that don't make money go out of business because they need money to operate, and they should be charging because they're likely doing better work than many corporations in the country. But that's a much longer conversation. But we had the pleasure of working with you, and then Taylor, of course, got the pleasure of working with you, Dr. Mims, on this earned revenue strategy. So yeah, I would love to just kind of hear kind of how that partnership was on your end. And kind of any wins or like how the earned revenue or pricing strategy has been working since we last chatted, probably back in January or so.
Yeah, I mean, partnering with you has really been invaluable on a number of levels because, again, it's just like what you mentioned. If you're not able to bring in revenue to pay your bills, pay employees, cover benefits, or whatever, you won't exist. And so, there's a label that they have for people who run nonprofits that are doing this type of work where we're working with people, and they call us social entrepreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. And so the work is about people. And so when you want to expand that work and scale it, it takes funding to do that. And we're in a unique situation wherein that the people that are part of the team collectively, the 3 full-time people, we have a lot of part-time people. We have close to 90 years of experience working in schools in various capacities and in leadership capacity. So we bring a lot of credibility to the work that we do, and schools like to work with us, but it's important for us to be able to scale. So we have 2 revenue streams. We have more than 2 revenue streams. One revenue stream is fee for service work that we do with the consulting that we provide, and then we have another revenue stream that comes from grants. And then we have another revenue stream from small donors and medium-sized donors. And so it's, no pun intended, it's a unique equation that we have to really figure out how to balance so that we can scale, because again, it takes money to scale. And so what Shermco really brought to the table was deep analysis that helped us understand what are some of these other nonprofits who engage in similar work, what are they doing and what are they charging, but also having focus group discussions with clients and getting some insight from them. So, it's important for the left hand to know what the right hand is doing and vice versa. So, through those conversations and the analysis and the reporting, it was crystal clear for us, some of the strategic moves that we need to make. And, the last thing I just want to say too, is that really what you provided us with was a framework in which to create our strategic plan, with the subset topic of, financial viability. And so, we've been working to, complete this strategic plan. We're still fine tuning it, but we've also added some new board members as well. So the timing was just perfect, because with bringing on these new board members who will help us who bring a unique set of skills, we'll be able to execute our strategic plan. And a major part of that is just figuring out scaling up and pricing.
Yep. Yep. It's great to hear. Very kind of you. So thank you. But also, I need to give a shout out to Taylor. She led so much of that work and did so much of that work, and also was able to blend her great ability to be aware of TCP and the project, but then also some of the strategy insights we were able to provide. So it was both, I think, a perfect blend of a personal and professional mix, and how passionate we all are about this work, and now helping you guys even get to the next level with sustainability and continuing to grow is just really exciting for a number of reasons.
She actually put the math that I taught her to work. I mean, when you think about it, this whole
talk about a good ROI, right? Yeah.
All right.
We're talking about numbers here. We're talking about revenue. We're talking about expenses. We're talking about numbers, right? And so now she sees this. Taylor has come full circle now, because I know she said she wasn't that good at math. She's actually very good at math, because you put together a very sound strategic plan that is anchored by numbers. So, hey, kudos to you.
Thanks, Mims. Thanks. I appreciate that. No, but it was great too to see how TCP has grown. I think that it's crazy with, I think, my cohort and the cohort before that. That was really it. I think there was maybe like a couple other cohorts, but it was fairly small. So it's so great to see how much TCP has expanded, and you're in different states now. So yeah, it's awesome.
Well, because we use your performance data, okay? Just to kind of like,
we're the guinea pigs, is what you're saying.
And Taylor, I guess to your point, was there any surprises being like working with Shermco now, but then like building the pricing strategy for TCP as you were talking to clients and prospective clients and learning more about other business models, or any surprises that maybe you weren't expecting, of insights regarding TCP that we then eventually offered towards the end of the partnership?
I think that it was interesting because I, at this point, had been with Shermco for like a year and some change. So yeah, I think that seeing some comparable organizations that we have worked with, and already having that kind of insight already, and just seeing what they were charging, and then looking at TCP's pricing model, I think I knew immediately that I already knew that there was definitely something that we could assist you guys and give you a lot of good recommendations just based on like my prior knowledge. So that was really cool. And then, yeah, I don't know, the program's so invaluable too, that I just felt like it was so easy to give recommendations based on the work that you're doing. So yeah, it was great.
Well, it's cool. It's great. Dr. Mims, I think Taylor's going to get you out of here on a few fun and semi-rapid fire questions.
All right.
So first one is how can the audience support and help TCP and the work that you're doing?
Oh, wow. There are a number of ways. I could come up with the obvious first choice and say donations.
As you should.
Always.
As you should.
And I think I will. Donations always help. But, we have, this is, I always describe this work as a movement. And so in movements, people figure out how they want to be a part of it. And there's more than one way. Of course, there's a financial piece to this, but we also bring in people who want to speak to the students. Some of these people are highly successful STEM professionals of color, and they come in and they tell their story. I mean, if you are highly successful, regardless of your race or gender, you have an important story to tell. And so when we bring in these people, one of the things that we tell the students is take out your pen, take out your pad, take notes, and ask a lot of questions, because what you're going to do, you're going to take in some important information that you're going to use to create your own personal blueprint for success. So we have people who volunteer to come in and speak to students. We have people who mentor some of our students, especially when they go off to college. We have people who are in human resource and CEOs of companies that provide internship opportunities for students, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be paid. And so what we tell students is that experience is currency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can take that experience and you can use it to enhance yourself, maybe on a resume or during an interview, that in and of itself is currency in a way. So working with local companies to allow students to come in and shadow for 1 or 2 hours, because it's important for students to understand corporate culture, right? That's something that you don't get in a high school classroom or even in a college classroom. What is company culture and what does that look like? So there are a number of ways that people can get involved. I encourage people to check out the website, www.thecalculusproject.org, and you can communicate with us that way, and we'll get right back to you. But partnerships are valuable to the work that we do, and having people come in and speak to the students, as well as those donations.
As well as those donations. Don't forget about the
donations and in with donations, right?
The next question for you is, what musical artists are you listening to right now?
Oh, wow. I listen to a lot of musical artists. I love Prince. I listen to Prince.
Okay, oldies.
You know that about him?
Not surprised.
I'm dating myself. I listen to Prince. I like Lenny Kravitz. I like jazz music. I listen to Najee. I'm all over the place a little bit. I like old school hip hop. I'm not too much into the new hip hop, but old school.
Okay. I love it. And then the last question I have for you is, okay, and it's not a trick question, okay?
Yes, it is.
It's not, I promise.
It is a trick question.
I already know you. You're going to be like, what do you mean? Okay, it's not a question. What does square pizza remind you of?
Oh, man. You just gave me some serious flashbacks right now.
Not flashbacks.
Yes. When you say square pizza, it gives me a flashback of growing up in South Carolina, going to the cafeteria, getting that pizza. It wasn't necessarily square, it was kind of a rectangle. But what was so interesting is that pizza was actually pretty good.
It was good. That pizza is good.
Very delicious pizza. I joke around with people, it's interesting how things have changed in this world, because during that time, I don't remember anyone having any food allergies. They gave us cake. I'm serious. Like, they were allergic to food. I mean, I don't know, probably because we were all starving to death or whatever, but we had cake. They gave us cake with peanut butter icing. You couldn't give that in a school now. I mean, there'd be kids out on the stretcher. But times are different. But when you say square pizza, I started thinking about Welford Intermediate, where I went to school in Burns High School, where they gave us that pizza.
That's a good one. See, I knew it wasn't your question. That was good.
It wasn't. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm thinking back to when I was in school. That's a long time ago. It's probably like if they tried to serve the food that I grew up on eating in schools now, they probably end up shutting the school down because they want a health kick. Too many calories.
Food allergy. Somebody needs to do a thesis on like the rise of food allergy. I'm sure it's out there, right? But the cause of that and the rise compared to maybe the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah. We were eating everything.
Yeah, right. Dr. Mims, thanks so much for joining. Shout out to Taylor for going through TCP, but also being such a great team member on our team and helping you guys. But yeah, thanks again for joining the podcast. Thanks for all you're doing. And we'll make sure we kind of send the listening audience to you to both give those donations and find other ways to support you and the incredible work at TCP.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.